Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy here with the final top 10 list for the month. Yeah, I know. It's really sad. It's been one hell of a ride, top 10 month, and I sure as hell really enjoyed it. And I hate to see it go like this, but you know what they say, guys. All good things must come to an end. And so to send off top 10 month, I decided to do a top 10 list that was requested to me by one of my subscribers, Weston Babb, on my top 10 favorite film directors. These are directors that really stood out to me in their overall unique directorial style and storytelling abilities. Some of these directors were quite daring, taking a lot of risks and telling stories that not a lot of people told or were too afraid to tell. Many of these directors were also very innovative, advancing the craft of filmmaking and storytelling to the next level. Most of them were very artistic, creating vast and lush worlds for people to journey in and escape to. And all the filmmakers on this list have not only made very influential films, but they themselves have been very influential to the next generation of filmmakers. Every single person mentioned on this list, including the honorable mentions, have influenced me in one way, shape, or form. They made me fall in love with the art of filmmaking, the art of storytelling, and helped me to see its full potential and its long-lasting effect and influence. Whereas there are some filmmakers that really make me question that notion. Let's never speak of them again. And before we kick off this list, as I mentioned earlier, I do have a few honorable mentions. There are just so many filmmakers that I really adore and I enjoy their films. They have influenced me and made me fall in love with the filmmaking process. So it was really hard making this list and taking some of these people out because I really adore them. And if I ever get a chance to meet them, I'd be so ecstatic. But anyway, here are a few of the honorable mentions. Starting off with Robert Zemeckis, Joel and Ethan Coen, Terrence Malick, Ron Howard, Ridley Scott, Clint Eastwood, Oliver Stone, and Peter Jackson. All these guys were great and I do enjoy their films and they have influenced me a lot. But they weren't as influential as my top 10 list, which we are going to get into right now. Starting off my list at number 10 is a choice that's gonna really shock a lot of you, considering that this guy is relatively unknown by the mainstream and only made 3 notable films in his career, 2 of which were runaway box office successes that are loved and adored by everybody. That person is Andrew Stanton. You're probably scratching your head right now like, who the hell is Andrew Stanton? Well, Andrew Stanton is the director of Finding Nemo, WALL-E, John Carter, and is one of the heads of the Pixar Animation Studios. Now you're all probably baffled as to why I chose Andrew Stanton for the number 10 spot over all of the other people I mentioned in my honorable mentions list. And the reason that I chose Andrew Stanton of all people is because how influential he was on me as an individual and as an aspiring filmmaker. He made me see the potential and the beauty of 3D animation. Just watch Finding Nemo and WALL-E, some of the most beautifully made films I've ever seen. Animation or live action, I mean, it's just breathtaking. His visual style is so amazing and it's literally my favorite, he's my favorite director in Pixar. He's also, in my opinion, one of the most underrated directors, not only at Pixar, but in the field of animation in general. I mean, he makes some spectacular films with a lot of emphasis on strong characters, strong character development, and strong character relationships. I mean, the bonds between the characters in his films, I always feel like they're genuine and very strong. He also makes very interesting and thought-provoking stories, each with a very strong and deep environmental message to them. But the one thing that made him stand out from the pack, at least in my opinion, is that he did the impossible, something that I thought could never ever happen. He made me believe and fall in love with a robot couple. mind-boggling. I mean, there's a reason why I considered WALL-E my #1 favorite romance film, because I was just blown away at how Andrew Stanton made me fall in love with these two inanimate objects in space. I mean, that takes a fucking amazing director, in my opinion, to pull off a feat like that. Setting all of his movies inside of a prison is my #9 choice, Frank Darabont. Similar to Andrew Stanton, Frank Darabont is truly an underrated and underappreciated director. I mean, his films are beloved, but not a lot of people know that he made these films. How many of you knew that Frank Darabont, before this moment, made films like Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile, and also helped develop the TV show The Walking Dead? Raise your hand. Not a lot of you, huh? And in the exact same vein as Andrew Stanton, Frank Darabont has only made a total of 3 theatrical films in his entire career, 2 of which were, again, critically acclaimed and loved by everybody. His 3rd film, not a lot of people remember it. It was called The Mist. I personally have not seen it. I heard the twist is pretty interesting, but that's about it. The rest of the movie wasn't as good. The reason I put Frank Darabont on this list is not only because he's extremely underrated and underappreciated, but he also just makes fantastic and well-crafted films that focus strongly on characters and their development and relationship with each other. He may not be the most visual director, but he damn sure can make a captivating and heart-wrenching film. Just watch the final scene in Green Mile and tell me that you don't tear up every single time you see that scene. Now, my #8 choice is either gonna piss off a lot of people or shock a lot of people at the fact that I placed him at this spot, and that is Christopher Nolan. Now calm down everybody, calm down. Let me explain myself. Although I truly do like Christopher Nolan, I just feel like that there are 7 other people that really stand out and have influenced me more personally than he has. But I cannot deny his huge impact, not only on myself, but on the media in general. Christopher Nolan single-handedly redefined the methods of film storytelling and tone through films like Memento, The Prestige, and Inception. Not only has he done that, but he also redefined how superhero movies can be done and told with a more darker and grittier tone. Look at the Dark Knight trilogy, for example. A lot of his films are dark, realistic, and complex, as is his style, and he really loves to delve into the human psyche. Just watch movies like Inception, The Dark Knight, or even Insomnia, a film that I really think is one of his most underrated films and one of his most unknown films. Not a lot of people knew he directed this. I didn't know until I rewatched it recently and I saw his freaking name as directed by. I was like, wow, I didn't know he directed that. That makes me like it even more. And although I'm not a staunch Nolanite, I cannot deny his huge influence and impact in the postmodern filmmaking era. In Nolan we trust, and indeed we do. Just don't make another film like The Dark Knight Rises. Please. A man of many talents is my #7 choice, James Cameron. Now I know what you're all thinking. What? James Cameron's on this list? Pfft, fuck this list. Dislike. And that's totally fine. You can do that, but just hear me out for a second. The reason that I put James Cameron at the #7 spot, not only because he's made a lot of influential movies that we all still watch and adore to this day. I mean, films like Terminator, Terminator Judgment Day, True Lies, Titanic, and Avatar, 2 of which are the highest grossing movies of all time. But also, he has left a huge and lasting impact on the filmmaking process in general. Hell, this guy was and still is a pioneer for technological advancement in the medium of film. From CGI to how action scenes are shot and done in a film to fucking 3D D, this guy has done it all. And not only that, he tells really interesting, really captivating stories with a lot of interesting and colorful characters in them. I mean, how many of us are gonna forget the T-1000, Sarah Connor, or John Connor from the Terminator franchise? How many of us are gonna forget about Jack and Rose as the Titanic sunk in Titanic? How many of us are gonna forget about Jake Sully and the Na'vi in Avatar? He makes a lot of distinct, interesting, and memorable characters. He's a perfectionist by fault, which makes him really difficult for some people to work with, but you know what? He always delivers. Always. And remember how I said that he's a man of many talents? I wasn't just saying that. This guy is not only a director and a writer, but he's an editor, he's an inventor, he's a philanthropist. I mean, this guy has it all, and he does more than just those things I just named. This guy is freaking amazing. James Cameron has shown that film directors can be more than just film directors if they really put their minds to it. And I really admire and appreciate this guy, and he really motivates me to go out there and make something of myself. And that is why he is number 7. As far back as I can remember, I always liked my number 6 choice, Martin Scorsese. I mean, this guy is a Hollywood legend. When you think film directors, you think of Martin Scorsese. He probably might be one of the first names you think of. What I love about Martin Scorsese as a director is his unique filmmaking and storytelling style. It's a style all of his own. I mean, he makes a lot of captivating films with interesting stories and twisted characters. And the fact that most of his movies run about 3 hours long, yet I never ever noticed them, that is an amazing feat. 3 things I've come to expect from a Martin Scorsese film is, first off, he really loves to focus his attention on these twisted and demented people that are just like the scum of the earth, like the worst people you could get to know. And it's not because he wants us to sympathize for them, but he wants us to see life through their eyes, from a different perspective that not a lot of us are familiar with. Secondly, his unique use of narration, or in some points, multi-narration, which is mostly a setup for exposition to explain what's going on or what's about to happen, but it also gives us some insight as to what the criminal or what the main character is thinking. And lastly, his long takes, which as a director he executes very well. Not only that, but he also set the foundation for postmodern gangster films that a lot of people follow to this day. Overall, to put it bluntly, Martin Scorsese makes triple Fs. Fucking fun films. Making you an offer you can't refuse is my number 5 choice, Francis Ford Coppola. Considered one of the greatest and most influential directors of his time, Francis Ford Coppola gave us a ton of memorable and classic films, such as The Godfather, which is regarded as one of the greatest films of all time, Godfather 2, which is considered one of the greatest sequels of all time, and my personal favorite, Apocalypse Now, which I consider one of the greatest war films of all time. Do you see the pattern here? This guy is just greatness written all over him. He's been known to be very passionate about his craft, making grandiose, larger-than-life films featuring very dark and twisted characters. I mean, if you see the documentary about the making of Apocalypse Now, you can really see how much dedication and compassion he has for filmmaking. That documentary just really spoke to me, and it made me admire Francis Ford Coppola even more. I mean, I already loved the guy. Now I truly respected him after seeing all the hardships that he went through in the making of Apocalypse Now. He is a true auteur and a visionary, to say the least, and is still one of the greatest directors of all time. A crowd-pleasing director in every sense of the word is my number 4 choice, Steven Spielberg. This guy right here is probably one of the most prolific and versatile directors working in Hollywood today, and probably ever. There is not a single genre in film that Steven Spielberg has yet to do. He has literally done them all. Action adventure? Check. Drama? Check. Comedy? Check. Sci-fi? Check. Horror suspense? Check. Children's movies? Check. Animation? Check. He has literally done it all, guys. And not only is he a director, but he's also a very prolific producer, producing almost like 50 movies a year. I don't even know how many films he produces in a year, but there are a lot. I mean, how many times do you watch a movie and you see from executive producer Steven Spielberg, or even when you see a TV show, he has done so much in his career, man. He has really made a name for himself, and he has become a pop culture icon. Oh, and I also forgot he also did war films as well, so check that one off the director's bucket list. I mean, seriously, this guy has done so much. I am so impressed and enamored by this guy. I really respect him. I know that he has a lot of passion for his craft, and he really inspires me to become a very prolific director, showing me that you can do every single genre in film if you really put your heart to it. Steven Spielberg overall is a unique and diverse director who isn't afraid to try new things and to take new ventures. And all of his films, for the most part, are really fun and entertaining to watch. Proving that film can be both artistic and very profound is my number 3 choice, Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick is an amazing director, and he truly inspires me. The fact that this guy only made 13 films in his entire life, yet each and every one of these films really stand out as being some of the greatest films ever made. Not only did Stanley Kubrick push the boundaries of how a film could be made technologically or how a film could be told story-wise, but he also proved that film has artistic merits. He proved that film can be deep and thought-provoking. He proved that film could be more than just mindless entertainment. In my opinion, he was literally the first visionary director in film. Like, all of his films, they not only look beautiful on a cinematography level, but they're deep, thought-provoking, have a lot of social commentary to them, and underlining themes that resonate with us today. His films like Doctor Strangelove, 2001: A Space Odyssey, A Clockwork Orange, Full Metal Jacket, and Eyes Wide Shut are films that I still think and ponder about to this day. I just found all of his films very intricate, so well shot, so well written, so well directed. That's the man Stanley Kubrick really is, and he is literally one of the most influential directors of all time. Not only for me, but for a number of filmmakers out there. Proving that animation is not just mindless kids entertainment is my number 2 choice, Hayao Miyazaki. I truly admire, respect, and love this guy. He has done so much for the field of animation and garnered it a lot of respect and attention. His storytelling is engaging, his characters are 3-dimensional and dynamic, his themes are profound and universal. I mean, this guy makes magnificent films. Not only that, but if you were to take every single trait from the other 8 directors I just mentioned and put them in a blender, you literally got Hayao Miyazaki. He is a visionary. He is an auteur. He proved that animation can be artistic, not just playful kid animation. I mean artistic, grand, and beautiful. He is very diverse and versatile with his directing. He can direct a kid's film. He can direct an action film. He can direct a drama. He is one of the few people in this world, not just directors, but people in this world that I really look up to and aspire to be like. That's why I was so heartbroken and torn when I heard that he was retiring, because we lost such a pivotal voice for animation. Although I think he's not retired anymore. I really don't know what the word is right now, but he just really inspires me, guys. I love every one of his films, and his Studio Ghibli, although they do have their ups and downs, they are really the pioneers for not only 2D animation, but animation in general. I really respect this guy. He is just phenomenal, and that's why he is number 2. So now here we are at number 1, and I'm guessing you all know who number 1 is. I praise this guy so much, and as much as I do love Hayao Miyazaki, as much as I do love Stanley Kubrick and Steven Spielberg and Chris Nolan and James Cameron and all the other directors I mentioned, there is only one director that really stood out to me. If it wasn't for this guy right here, I wouldn't have gotten into film. I literally would have never fallen in love with film. This guy made it for me, and that is Quentin Tarantino. What can I say about Quentin Tarantino that hasn't been already said or that I haven't already said? One thing that I found very interesting is just how similar me and Quentin Tarantino really are. I mean, we're both loud, very talkative, very sporadic, have ADD, very opinionated, and we love movies. Not only that, but we love a lot of action kung fu movies, Asian-based movies. This guy, if I met him in real life, we definitely would have been friends. Like, me and him, we just go to the movies every week and we just rant and talk about them and see which ones we liked and which ones we hate. He just feels like that buddy director. He's somebody that is definitely a crowd pleaser. He knows what audiences want because if he enjoys watching it, he knows the audience will enjoy watching it. He is truly one of the biggest and most devout film fans to ever exist, and his films clearly show that, paying homage to films that really inspired him when he was growing up. Kung fu action films, B-movie films, films about gangsters and stuff. He has a really unique and energetic directing style. His writing is sharp, witty, humorous, and overall very interesting. I know for a fact that when I watched Pulp Fiction, the one thing that I ended up talking about is just some of the conversations that many of these characters had. All of his films have their own unique style to it, have their own unique spin on a story, and just his storytelling ability. I mean, when he came out with Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, no one has ever seen a story ever told like that during that time. It was very unique, very original, and just blew people's minds. Same thing with me. When I first saw Pulp Fiction, I never saw a movie like that. It baffled me. I was like, what is this? This is amazing! Not only is his directing style great and his writing solid, but he brings to life so many memorable and colorful characters to the screen. I can name almost every single character in a Quentin Tarantino film. To name them all here, it just would take forever, and I don't want to waste you guys' time with that. So overall, I think you guys get the point. I absolutely adore Quentin Tarantino. I love his style, I love his storytelling, I love his writing, I love his characters, I love his energy, I love everything about Quentin Tarantino, and one day I hope to meet the guy. At least before he dies or before I die, I need to meet Quentin Tarantino and take a picture with him. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, Quentin Tarantino is my #1 favorite film director of all time. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes not only my top 10 favorite film directors list, but also top 10 month. And I would like to know what you guys thought about this list. Did you agree with it? Did you disagree with it? Did you feel like I left anybody out? And let me know who is your favorite film director of all time. And let me know what you guys thought about top 10 month. Comment below, let me know. And have you guys seen my new channel art poster? It looks pretty awesome, doesn't it? It was actually made by one of my subscribers, Vatican Fibre. They sent it to me through Twitter, and I was just blown away at how good it was. I was so happy. And I didn't ask them to do this at all. They just did it because they wanted to. And I truly appreciate it. And if you could, go check out their Twitter account, their Facebook page, like their page, follow them on Twitter, do all those great stuff because they definitely deserve it. And I am truly appreciative of this poster. And until then, guys, hit that subscribe button if you're new to my channel. Welcome to the Black Critic Guy. Like this video if you really enjoyed it, and I'm Toy Watt the second, the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube. I'm off to Tennessee.